For nearly 4 years, Yemen's war looked frozen rather than finished. Saudi Arabia and the Iran-backed Houthis had largely stopped major fighting, but it never resolved the deeper battle over power, territory and oil. And now, after the deadly US-Iran war, that uneasy calm is beginning to crack. And a new Red Sea blockade has raised fears that Yemen and Saudi Arabia could once again slide into a devastating regional war. After a decade of destruction, famine and disease in the mountains of Yemen, many had hoped that the 2022 truce between Saudi Arabia and the Houthis will eventually lead to peace. The Houthis emerged from the war controlling much of northern Yemen, including the capital city of Sana'a. Now, the south remained under internationally recognized government, heavily dependent on Saudi military and financial support. For the Houthis, frustration had been building up for years. They wanted greater authority over the country, access to oil revenues outside their territory, and international recognition as Yemen's legitimate government. Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, had very little appetite for another war. Its previous bombing campaign had become a costly quagmire that had contributed to one of the world's worst humanitarian disasters. Riyadh wanted stability and not another open-ended conflict. In late 2023, peace appeared tantalizingly close. With the United Nations mediation, Saudi Arabia and the Houthis nearly agreed on a political roadmap for a longer-term settlement. A key part of the deal would have restarted salaries for government employees in the Houthi-controlled areas worth an estimated $1 to $2 billion annually, funded largely through Yemen's oil revenues, with Saudi support filling any gaps. But before the agreement could be signed, Hamas' attack on Israel in October 2023 changed the region. The Houthis launched missiles and drones at Israel and at commercial shipping in the Red Sea, claiming solidarity with Palestinians. And that drew military responses from Western nations. When Donald Trump had returned to office in 2025, he had designated the Houthis as a foreign terrorist organization and had ordered for a bombing campaign against them. For months, the Houthis had largely avoided a direct confrontation with Saudi Arabia. But the recent US-Iran conflict changed the equation. However, the immediate trigger was a dispute over Iranian flights into Sana'a. The Houthis insisted an Iranian aircraft be allowed to land after flights had been suspended for nearly about a year. When another Iranian plane attempted to enter into the Yemeni airspace, the Houthis had accused Saudi Arabia of bombing Sana'a's airport. The Saudi-backed government said that it carried out strikes to force the aircraft to divert, alleging that it was carrying Iranian weapons. The Houthis denied that claim, and soon afterwards they also announced a blockade on Saudi ships in the Red Sea. The situation has escalated very rapidly over the past week. The Houthis fired missiles and drones into Saudi Arabia and targeted ships in the Red Sea, disrupting the already volatile global energy markets, and also marking a fresh threat over the security of key shipping routes. A Saudi-led coalition has responded with airstrikes in the Houthi-held territory for the very first time in years. The latest was the attack the Houthi rebels claimed on Monday that they launched missiles and drones at Saudi Arabia, and this in response to the Saudi airstrikes in the strategic Red Sea port city of Houthis. A satellite image showed smoke rising from an oil facility in Abqab in Saudi Arabia on the 27th of July. With the Strait of Hormuz effectively disrupted by the Iran war, Saudi Arabia is now relying far more heavily on the Red Sea corridor to export its oil, the lifeblood of its economy. A Houthi threat to that route now strikes directly at Saudi Arabia's economic security. While US President Donald Trump has also issued a pretty stark warning, on the 23rd of July, he threatened major military punishment if the Houthis continue attacking the Saudi oil tankers. The fragile balance over all these years is now seeming to break apart.